Hi, everybody. This is Ian Lamont from Lean Media. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Etsy strike, which has just popped up on my radar screen. I am an Etsy seller. I'm also an Amazon seller and a Shopify seller, and I have a couple thoughts about the strike and what's being demanded. And basically, a group of sellers has gotten together to protest their treatment by Etsy and some things on Etsy which they do not like, including raising fees, kind of Etsy being overrun by people just reselling junk, and AI lockouts, among other things. If you go to etsystrike.org, you can actually see what the concerns are. There's a list of demands, but actually, in the demands include canceling the fee increase, cracking down on resellers, something about support tickets, ending the star seller program, and giving all sellers the ability to opt out of site ads. But what is more interesting to me is actually this petition which popped up. And the petition gets into more details about what's going on. Interestingly, there are 50,000 people that have already signed the petition. I don't know if all of them are sellers or if that also includes people who are kind of supportive of what's going on. I know some customers don't like what's going on at Etsy either, but it really gets into the details of what's going on. So for instance, Etsy is making a lot more money now than they were before the pandemic. And these sellers, people who are selling their own authentic items, are really convinced that they're getting the short end of the stick. And I sympathize with that because I do sell original items on Etsy. These are items that are very carefully designed. I'm not buying some cheap junk from an overseas manufacturer. They're actually manufactured right in the United States, and they take a long time to design and market and create. And Etsy does gouge prices. Actually, I'm going to show you something. I did a video on this some time ago, but I ran an Etsy advertising campaign late last year and basically spent a ton of money, nearly $400, just to get $500 in sales. So I was losing money because, of course, an extra $100 in sales does not cover all of my other expenses, including manufacturing and all the other costs that go into to creating a good. So this was a money losing thing for me, even though Etsy was promoting it as the best thing that they'd ever invented. So I opted out of Etsy advertisements after that. However, there are other problems with Etsy, and they include kind of This paragraph actually sums it up pretty well. AI-powered bots shut down legitimate seller accounts seemingly at random. This is also a problem on Amazon. They're called AI lockouts. And basically what's happening is some Etsy sellers, their accounts are triggered as violating some policy. Oftentimes they're completely innocent, or it's an accidental mistake maybe, but they get shut down. They can't get support. They're losing sales while that's happening. And then also they complain about Etsy looks the other way on resellers who undercut authentic makers by peddling sweatshop-produced junk, in clear violation of the spirit of the Etsy community. So when Etsy first got started, it really was a place where people could, design their own jewelry or some very special piece of clothing or, some special toy for pets, homemade, handmade. But it's turned into something where just people are buying cheap stuff on from an international manufacturer. Maybe in another country someplace, and this trying to undercut the original sellers. And the other thing that's happening because of that is the type of buyers who appear on Etsy. They're just looking for cheap commodity junk too, and they don't really appreciate the stuff that takes more quality, costs a little bit more, or maybe purchased or maybe manufactured locally rather than overseas in a factory. And then it goes on, but basically here are the details of what they want to do. Cancel the fee increase. I think this is absolutely true. They're increasing seller fees by 30% after 2 years of record sales. Is nothing short of pandemic profiteering. I agree with that 100%. Crackdown on resellers. This sounds great in spirit. I'm not really sure how they'll be able to actually carry it out in practice because it's very hard to determine what's real and what's inauthentic or what's a copycat product. It's really a tough thing to do. And Etsy does ask you, say they ask, where is this product manufactured? A lot of people, I think, just make that up because you're basically self-certifying that you've made it yourself, and it's so easy just to lie on that. And I think a lot of sellers do that. The support tickets thing, I'm not really sure about this because I've never had to use Etsy support, but this is clearly a big issue for some sellers. The Star Seller program, they say passive-aggressive efforts to influence seller behavior are counterproductive and result in a worse customer experience. So the Star Seller program, in order to get in it, you have to kind of meet some criteria in terms of responding to people's questions, delivering things on time. And if you don't meet those criteria, you won't be a star seller. So people who don't get in it, or maybe they have a customer who has a really big problem with the order, or who knows what the issue is, but they don't get the ratings that are necessary to be a star seller, and this is obviously causing some resentment. And let all sellers opt out of offsite ads. So what I think this is Etsy, they will pay for Google advertising on their own, or they have it integrated with some sort of Google, I think it's Google shopper ads. I can't remember what they're called, but basically what it means is if you sell something on Etsy, it may show up in Google search results. And the problem with that for some sellers is they have a Shopify store, and actually they're being undercut by Etsy because people will click on the Etsy ad rather than their own Shopify ad. And there's no way currently to opt out of these types of advertisement because Etsy, from their point of view, they want as many people as possible to come to Etsy.com. They don't care about your Shopify store. So these are all legitimate complaints. I think it's going to be really hard to make Etsy bend on this one because they can say to these 50,000 people, all right, well, don't sell on Etsy if you don't like it. And a lot of people, for every 10 sellers who participate in this strike, they have probably 1,000 more who either aren't aware of it or don't care and will continue to operate on Etsy, and Etsy will continue to make money. I think long-term for Etsy, the bigger problem is actually this issue, cracking down on resellers. Because if Etsy gets a reputation as just kind of mass-produced junk and it's nothing really special, it's not really a market of actual creators, creative people, that will cause more long-term damage, I think, for Etsy, because somebody else is going to come up and basically, eat their bacon. So this is a really big issue, a long-term issue for Etsy, but on the short term, I don't think Etsy is going to respond to this particular strike, unfortunately. I'm still on the fence about whether I want to get involved in this strike. I probably will end up signing it, actually. But it's a kind of a big issue in the Etsy community, and like I always say to people who listen to the Lean Media videos, whether you're selling on Amazon or Etsy or eBay, you do not want to be kind of owned by that platform. And if and what you should be doing is really trying to develop your own brand, your own website, your own mailing list, so you're not dependent on kind of the Etsy or the Amazon or the eBay customer flow. Because if you have your own brand and people go to your own website to find either good content or good products or original, better service, that's a much better thing than having your only customers coming through Etsy or coming through Amazon or coming through one of these big platforms that frankly doesn't care for you at all. This is Ian Lamont from Lean Media. If this video helped, if you could take a moment to like it and follow me on YouTube, I'd be very grateful. I talk about usually about Amazon and Shopify, sometimes about Etsy, sometimes about Klaviyo, sometimes about other types of platforms that you can use as a seller to increase your revenue and build your own brand. Thank you so much for watching.